I've got 8 questions here. You get 3 rolls on the tower, and whatever questions I land on for you, that's where we start at least. What is the most recent TV show that you have binge watched?
Breaking Bad. I had never seen it, so it was on my list of things to see, and it did not disappoint. So I've been binge watching that right now.
Can you give us one audition high, but then also one audition low, and tell us what you learned from that low?
An audition high, I'd probably say probably the ones that I've booked. So I would say that, well, I guess it could be a high and a low, because for Fate, actually, that's of course a high because I, got the wonderful call that I booked the role. But then that also, walking out of there, felt like a low the first time, because I was on my way to the airport and my car had broken down. So I literally had to go right from the audition, my first audition for it, right to the airport. And I was going to be gone for like a few months, and I have a problem with overpacking in the first place. So I had this like suitcase about the size of me, and I had to lug it into the casting office. And it was just such a scene, and everyone was like so quiet, and I was like bo 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 into the office, and it was quite the scene. And then also, no pun intended, but also in the first episode of season 1, Bloom is arriving to the school with the suitcase. So I also then later I was like, oh my gosh, they think that I was like either a method actor or like totally trying to like be in the role, showing up to this audition room with a suitcase. So
there is a zombie outbreak on the set of the Winx Saga, and you have to select 2 cast members from the show, not their characters, the real people to team up with. Who do you pick that would give you the best chance of surviving?
I'd say Precious for one, because she's insanely calming, and I am the polar opposite. Like if something goes wrong, I'm like, everybody panic. And so I think she would keep the group calm and come up with rational, logical solutions. And then I would maybe choose, it would be between Elliot and Alicia, because they're both everyone is intelligent, but they're both like quite intellectuals. So I'm gonna say Alicia, because she worked in science before, or she worked in lab work or something. So she could kind of know how to maybe come up with a cure, or like if someone were to get bitten or whatever, could crack the code of the zombie apocalypse.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back for a brand new edition of Collider Ladies Night. I am very, very excited to welcome Abigail Cowen to the show, because Fate the Winx Saga, it is like a highly addictive binge watch. I didn't watch the first season when it first came out, but it was recommended to me. And man, I blew through seasons 1 and 2 disturbingly fast. Huge congratulations on the new season.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
You knew you wanted to be an actor, but do you remember the first time that you felt like you were really good at it? Like you were doing it, whether it was in some sort of program when you were younger, or maybe on a professional set, and you said to yourself, like, you know what? Like, I have what it takes, and I believe in my ability to go to the distance in this business.
If I'm being honest, I still don't feel like that. Like, I think it's like I know everyone talks about imposter syndrome. It's, a big part of that. And then also, I don't know, I've talked to a lot of other artists, and they're just like, you're so self-critical, and you're so, a lot of us are insanely insecure in our craft too. And I don't know if, I hope I get to that point of being like, wow, I'm great. But like, I don't think it still hasn't really been a moment where I'm like, I know for a fact I'm going to be able to do this for the rest of my life, because it is such an up and down industry, and you genuinely never know. And it's, I don't know if I've really ever fully felt that. I think when I do remember the feeling of like I need to really pursue my dreams was when I was on the set of Stranger Things. I had a really tiny little role with a couple lines, and I remember just like having this overwhelming feeling of like I need to, because I was living in Florida at the time. I was like, I need to do this for the rest of my life. Like I need to at least try, or I won't, die happy. Like I need to know that I tried. So I think that was like a big pivotal moment for me. But I don't think I've ever really felt the like, wow, I'm good. It's a weird industry.
I always feel like such a jerk asking that question because I'm like a perfectionist who is super hard on herself. So if someone tossed that question my way, I would have given the same exact answer that you just did.
It's so funny because I feel like so many artists feel like that. Like so many, or people just in this industry in general feel like, it's just a very, I guess, self-critical. It allows for a lot of like self-awareness and self-criticism or critique, and can make it kind of difficult.
You just brought up Stranger Things. So did you do Stranger Things before you officially made the move to LA? Were you still studying in school when you did that show?
I won't lie, I didn't really want to go to school at all. I was like, I was like, when you're in, when I was in the small town that I was in, I was like, I don't know how I could ever really do this for a career. It doesn't make sense. So I, got into a decent school, and I was like, I'll do it. But it was still fully on my heart, and acting was. And I actually booked Stranger Things out of my college dorm room. My brother helped me tape, and it was like a few lines I had to do, and then I found out I got it, and luckily I was doing online classes, so I was able to kind of continue. But yeah, drove up to Atlanta where they shoot, and met a girl out there who I actually was on the set with, and we were like, rash decision. We were like, should we just move to LA? And she was like, yeah, I'm down. So then we ended up rooming together for a couple years, and that was the move. But yes, I was in Florida.
When you got out to LA, what did you at the time think was the first right step to becoming an actor? And now looking back, would you recommend that as a first step to somebody else who's first moving out here?
First step is, I think, always, get an agent. And I felt very fortunate because I had already had my agent out here, so I was able to kind of just get into the swing of things and get to auditioning. So I would say that's really the first step is kind of have a game plan, because I think that I've seen it so many times, and it's hard because you're managing your own schedule. Yeah, having a game plan of how you want to do it, what your next steps are. And I think also treating auditioning as a full-time job. And that's kind of what I did. I was like, I'm going to treat this like it's my 9 to 5. And if I'm not at an audition, I'm going to be home studying for the next one. And when it hits 5 o'clock, I'm good, but I will put as much work as I can, until or in the process. And also learning to love auditioning, because it's never, a lot of people hate it, but I think if you convince yourself, it's the same thing for me as like running. I'm like, deep down, do I like it? No. Do I convince myself and tell myself I love it? Yes. So I think the learning to love auditioning and making it like a fun process.
I was wondering if you took anything from Kiernan as the lead of that show, not just in terms of her being, the lead character, but more so how she carries herself as number one on the call sheet, because oftentimes the number one on a call sheet can really set the tone in an environment like that. So was there anything she did on that set that made a big impression on you that you find yourself using on Winx Saga?
100%. I mean, I said this in an interview the other day too, just not even being asked about it, because I genuinely feel this way. She was so organized, so just like, I never saw her complain once or have a negative outlook on anything. And that did genuinely set a tone for everyone else. And it was just like how can we ever be like, oh, I'm tired, it's been a rough day? Well, one, how could we? We have our dream job, and it's the most, beautiful thing in the world to be able to do it. And two, how could we when, Kiernan is working day in, day out, comes to set prepared, never misses a line, is always there on time. It set a standard for us as well. We're like, we work like 2 days a week. We can't like mess up here because if she's doing that, then so it definitely was very inspirational, and I learned a ton, and definitely learned in that moment, like in that time of filming, that I would have not been able to do that, what she did. And it's funny because I actually originally auditioned for Sabrina and am so happy that, you know, I had never been a number one ever and I had no idea what it entailed. And being able to go through that and, watch how she handled it all was just a humongous learning experience. And I don't think I could have at all. I mean, she was just the perfect Sabrina and the perfect number one. And yeah, I mean, everyone still talks about it. They're like, it was just crazy how hard of a worker she was. She was like 18. I was like, how is this like possible? But it is, yeah.
Bloom has a habit of making decisions in the heat of a moment that often put her at risk. And no matter how many times her friends tell her not to do that, she keeps doing it. So, of the bunch of all those like big, wild, in the moment decisions that she makes, is there any particular one that was most challenging for you as the person playing her to understand and I guess wrap your head around where, maybe it called for more workshopping or even talking it through with Brian and the writers?
I mean, I would definitely say when she kills Rosalind. Watching it back, it wasn't as explosive as Bloom usually would be in these kinds of moments. It was just more like a little look and then just like boom, dead. Um, but that took some discussion of like I was that was challenging because I was like, okay, this is where her powers are at their max, and she calls it losing control, but is she really losing control? Like, and she admits later on, no, I knew what I was doing, and so that was kind of a weird, personally thing for me to kind of figure out how to play because I was like, I wanted there to be a bit of a difference between being like, I'm angry, like losing it, to now, sometimes the most powerful people are the quietest. And I was like, what if this could be a new kind of moment for her, a shift? Because it is the first time she's like genuinely losing it. And yeah, watching it back, I was like, okay, interesting, because we did two different types. We did again. I'm like, no, no, no. I want to try it this way. I want to try it that way. So we did do one where she did lose it, and then we also did one that's more, quiet and just she knew what she was doing, and little look in the eyes, and then boom, this whole explosion happens. So it's always weird too as an actor to look back and to see which take they chose. So I would probably say that one, but they chose the quieter one. So I was like, all right, cool.
So at the very, very end of season 2, Bloom seems pretty defeated when she walks through the portal at the end, but then we get some renewed hope in the reveal that her mother could be there. So what was it like for you on set figuring out what her expression should be as she discovers that? And then also the right way to say just like the single word mom, how much, fear or curiosity or even excitement to have conveyed through that one word.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was the interesting thing too, because it was, it's a bittersweet moment. It's not like a an exciting moment for her. She knows what she has to do. She knows she needs to do this and leave the person that she loves, leave the people behind who have been nothing but, supportive and loving to her and her first like real friendships and stuff. So, I definitely wanted it to be, yeah, blue and bittersweet. And then almost I wanted it to answer your question, we did the mom line about like 50 times. I'm not kidding. It would be like, mom, mom, mom. And then we were like, I'm not even kidding. And it was like, which one should we do? So we definitely did it in a lot of different ways because once again, I'm like so indecisive, and it was a weird line to do, especially ending the series with that. So um yeah, I think they just chose the one that they thought was gonna give the biggest cliffhanger, and um, Yeah, but I kind of also wanted it to be a bit more like she's finally in this world and it's more of like a almost a dream state for her of like, whoa, I feel like home or found in this. And then getting drawn towards that tower and just like almost knowing like what she's about to find. And then also being a little shocked by what she finds and curious and sad and happy and all of those things.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh my God.
Huge congratulations on the Winx Saga season 2, but also everything you've accomplished. And I can't wait to see season 3 and everything else that's to come for you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. You're amazing and I love chatting with you.